Hello, and welcome to the latest in the series of video podcasts from Neurodiversity in Business entitled Neurodiverse Voices. And what we're trying to do in this series is enable the wider ND community to see what big corporates are doing in this space, but also to allow other corporates who are members of Neurodiversity in Business to properly and fully understand what the art of the possible is. And you'll have seen from a lot of my social media and also from recent podcasts, what Lee and I are trying to do is make sure that corporates understand that neurodiversity doesn't need to sit in the too hard to deal with bucket anymore. So as you know, my name's Dan Harris. I'm the founder and CEO of Neurodiversity in Business, and I'm really delighted to welcome today a friend, Lee Corless. Lee is the head of HR for Rangam. Rangam are a workforce solutions company, but importantly, they're focused on the diversity of the workforce. So it really chimes well with what we're doing in Neurodiversity in Business. Lee, I'm sure you would give a far more eloquent introduction than that. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, well, there's always the corporate introduction. So, I have a very long title, but effectively, here at Rangam, we have a very similar mission to neurodiversity at business, which is around employment for all and employability for all, and particularly the neurodiverse workforce that's out there, people looking for roles. It is hugely important at the moment as to why companies want to do that. And I mean, even if we link it right now to the pandemic, during the pandemic, mental health issues, all of those kind of things came to the forefront. So really being very much focused as a workforce solutions company on that, the diversity within your workforce, and particularly the disability element, is really a key focus. Hence why I moved from my previous role. Anybody who knows me, I was at JP Chase running their Autism at Work program. This is one of the reasons I came across to Rangam, and you and I have been on this mission for such a long time now that it's great to see such traction, watching neurodiversity in business over this last 12 months really take off, and the corporates really take it to heart. So I'm really enthused to be here with you today, Dan, and to be a huge supporter of neurodiversity in business.
Great. Well, I'm equally enthused, Lee, and I do have some great news to break, which is that your old company, JP Morgan, have joined Neurodiversity in Business today. So that will be announced on social media. So that's another huge organization. I think, if I'm correct, the America's largest bank. Is that correct?
Investment bank, yes.
Investment
I think
bank,
they're one of the world's, I think they are still the world's largest investment bank. However, it is January as we speak, so all of those announcements happen. So we will see, but still an absolute fantastic company that are doing great things in the neurodiverse space.
Yeah, and I remember when we first met many years ago, I was so impressed by what had happened there, and it was a leading light in our community, I think. Okay, so on to today's session. So what I wanted to cover today, and just based on feedback I get from our previous podcasts, is just around bringing it to life a little bit more. So we often kind of face that dichotomy around CEOs and execs who are fully bought into the mission to create neuro-inclusive workplaces. The workforce and the team, the talent, are very keen on it, either because they're neurodivergent or they have family members or they think it's just the right thing to do. It's that bit in the middle, isn't it? It's the operationalizing of it that's sometimes a challenge, and also the difference in senior exec level sponsorship and commitment versus funding, and then the resources that potentially HR can allocate, as well as complicated by the fact that there are so many overlapping streams of D&I priorities that, where does neurodiversity fit in that? So I'd just love to get your perspective on where you see the neurodiversity movement in the corporate world these days.
Yeah, I mean, let's start. We all love statistics. Let's start with those statistics. That why should it be important to corporates? Let's take World Health Organization statistics, which I've seen the algorithm is on the, let's say, very much the lower end of working out the numbers. So 20% of the world's population has a neurodivergent condition. There are, give or take, whichever country you're in, around 600 different diagnosable conditions, and more are being added every day. And I'm being honest, I got one the other day, and even Google went, I've not heard of it. So, you know, there are more and more coming up. So why is that important to corporate? That means one fifth, my math's gone this morning, 1/5 of your workforce that you already have are neurodivergent. And what are you doing to support them? And that is a key starting point for all corporates. What are you doing to support your current employees is the massive piece there.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you said that, Lee, because what we've seen, I guess, over the last half decade, is some organisations who have rushed out to do a hiring programme, and then those people come in and they don't have a terribly good experience, do they? Which is why I wanted to talk about what you guys are doing, because hopefully it will percolate some ideas about what good practice actually looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the middle management are the people who put all of these strategic ideas into place, and it's great when seniors are bought in, and sometimes they will put the money forward, sometimes they won't. But the middle management know they've got to deliver it, and this is where the issues come back to. How am I going to run a program externally when I'm struggling to support who I've already got?
Right.
So, you know, the likes of neurodiversity in business, what you're doing is sharing those best practices of what you can do, how you can do this. What Rangam actually does is comes in and helps corporates to build what is the program they want, build the support network, actually come in and consult and say to you, what is your end game? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be different from company to company to company, and we go in and we help with that. We will help with looking at processes, procedures, all of that. That's where you've got to start, because what you're looking to do is universal design. You're looking what works for everybody, but take something I will talk about JP Morgan. When I was there, we started the Autism at Work program, because if you look at your policies and procedures that work for an autistic individual, they work for everybody. So universal design, you make those changes and you change them for everybody. And that's where middle management and HR within those companies start to get nervous and start to say, oh, this is very difficult. This is really hard to put in place. It's going to cost us a lot of money. Or, you know, we're going to have to completely retrain our management. And that is so untrue. It's tweaks. It's about managing people individually, which, hey, if you did that anyway as a corporate, you're going to have great teams. It's about having diversity in your team that matches, you know, the community that you're serving. And therefore, you know, statistics show the more diverse your team, the better performing it is. So this is about taking that and putting it into action. So great having a great corporate strategy, great having the bottom up where you've got the workforce with their business resource groups or employee resource groups who are really keen to put it in place. And then these middle managers feeling the pressure from both areas, turning to people like HR and them going, I don't know, this is too difficult, I don't want to do it. So this is why at the moment neurodiversity in business and Rangam really exist, and really why it's the biggest growing part of our business at the moment, is because so many corporates see the potential that they're missing, see the fact that they've got 20% of a workforce to support, and therefore need to do something. It's not a charity. It's never been a charity. You know, this is now serious for them. The population is, you know, as we grow older, as we mature, we are getting more and more problems. Mental health is a big issue. As we live longer, some more disabilities come in. So that side of the workforce needs more support, and government need to be really interested, because if they don't help companies to support these individuals, then the welfare system and the health system's gonna crumble as well, because people just sit and can't get a job because there's no corporate supporting. So it's hugely important that everybody gets involved. And it was great to see, you know, Neurodiversity in Business launch in the Houses of Parliament, really grabbing government's attention very early on. You've got great support. I love watching you on the pictures come up on LinkedIn. It's like, who's Dan going to be with this week? And really raising that. That's what NIB's doing really well, bringing to the front the cause, the actual real key points here, that this isn't difficult. That there's a large workforce out there that's hugely underutilized, and there's also a workforce out there in your workplace not being supported, therefore not giving their best work to you. So, hey, support these individuals, and it's going to make a massive impact on your business. So that's the key message, really, is why should you do it? From a corporate perspective, I've always got my corporate hat on. I'm going to get more productivity out of my individuals if they're better supported. I'm going to have a stronger, better, diverse workforce that very much represents the community I'm serving. And when you do that, the community buys into your company as well. So, hey, that nice side that you want to call it, the charitable side, is just a natural byproduct of your strategy of hiring diverse talent.
Yeah. And I kind of reflect on that often, because sometimes there is a critique around what we're doing, which is, why are you so focused on the big global corporates who are hugely profitable, etc., when the reality is there's a lot of unemployed neurodivergent talent, and the talent that's in the workplace are not always supported. And my response to that, and I'd be interested in your take, is actually, this is a multi-generational fight. You and I will be long retired before things are to the level that we're satisfied in. And I think we can make the most impact early on in getting some flagship organizations doing fantastic things, which will, it will just act as case studies, won't it? It will be moving neurodiversity out of the too hard to deal with bucket into, actually, we're doing something really progressive here.
Yeah, and you always know that even small companies always look at and compare themselves to bigger companies, or have aspirations to be bigger companies. So therefore, they do their research. So in getting these big corporates to change the way that they support their staff and the way that they hire, and do look at, hey, everybody is welcome to work in their organization, that filters down. That filters down to your small companies. And that's some of the reason that we do focus on it. But equally, both you and I know we're not just solely focused on that. We want the small businesses as well. We want the retail, all of those kind of jobs, because neurodiversity is a spectrum. And you will have people who, and the talent that's on there doesn't necessarily mean that you just qualified, came out of university with the best grades, you're fantastic on a computer. I have a son as well as myself being neurodivergent, and right now he's gaining experience working in a retail shop, and he's being the best that he can be in that retail shop. And that's what it's about, giving people the opportunity that's never had it before, and working with all types of industry, whether that be right the way up to the big corporates, right the way down to your corner shops even, and saying, let's bust the myth of, if somebody walks through the door and is slightly different to what you expected, so what? Why are you not look beyond that? Look at the skill set. Look at what they're going to bring your organization. And I always get people to look at this, and I probably should get advertising money for it, but I never do. Is go and have a look online at a company in the US that set off. It's a father and son set up this car wash company because their brother was autistic. It's called Rising Tide Car Wash. Go and have a look at it. They employ around 98% autistic individuals, and just watch how that company went from nothing to, I think they wash somewhere near 2 million cars now. And watch how they, the process, everything that they put in place for these individuals, and what it means for the individuals, all of that. There's just great stories out there that doesn't matter the size of your company. If you hire the right talent, you're going to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really inspiring to hear. And I think I'll conclude with this final question. And sometimes I like to put the guests on the spot, and I know you've had no time to prepare for this, but if you could sit back and kind of help answer the often question that we receive within neurodiversity in business, which is, tell me the 3 things I should be doing early on. What should I focus on before necessarily rushing out to hire? Because there is that disconnect sometimes between the strategic vision and the operational function. So we'd love to hear a view on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that here at Rangam we want companies to have set in place before that support networks, vitally important. So have you got business resource groups, employee resource groups, so colleagues who at this point in time don't feel comfortable disclosing to their manager, have somewhere to go, some people to talk to. Setting up buddies, mentors, all of those things. And again, not just for the individuals, but for the managers, because the managers feel that. And we always say that should be the same individual, because they can act as a go-between, they have the right permissions to talk. Always good. So ensuring that, and then do a review of your policies, procedures, and the way that you're hiring individuals as well and supporting individuals, because many corporate policies were written in the 70s and 80s and really not been updated. You and I both know when you go out and you're advertising jobs, you have a huge shopping list. What is important to your role? And there is normally shouldn't be any more than 5 things that are massively important. So ensuring that you've got the right people doing the right jobs internally first, and that they're well supported, they have a great network around them. And hey, I'm talking high level. So at the minute, I'm in my head thinking, how are you helping neurodivergent individual? But every single manager watching this should be going, shouldn't that just be the way that I help my team? What you and I are advocating is not rocket science. What we're advocating is what I said earlier: manage by individual, make sure there's a support network that every individual can bring their entire self into the workplace and therefore give you their best. So I would always say start in-house, make sure the structures are in there, make sure your managers and your HR are trained, and get that support network. It's got to be not just, it can't work if it's top down on its own or bottom up on its own, because the bottom up, they always feel that they're fighting to get somewhere. Top down, everybody else just thinks, oh, this is just another crazy corporate idea that they're trying to spin. You get both working in harmony, you're going to be successful, and hey, your self-disclosure rates are going to go up, which means you can help more people in your company and you're going to become more productive.
Fantastic. Lee, look, as ever, I always learn from listening to you, and I've enjoyed our conversation. And as I reflect on this, it feels like we should do something more substantive and also give some real world examples. So with your concurrence, I'd love to get you back in front of the NIB membership. We can do one of the corporate events that we do every month and just give you the opportunity to drill down a bit further, if that's all right.
Absolutely. Always here. As you know, 2 of us have been driving this mission for a long time now. So the more traction we get, better. I would love to see it before I retire, as you think, probably not. But that just hiring diverse talent is just what corporates do. It shouldn't be, and with the greatest of respect to what we do and what you do, we shouldn't exist in a standalone environment. It should just happen. But hey, that's going to take well beyond, as you said earlier. I'm getting grey now trying to force this mission on. It's, I would love to see it happen. It will happen. The traction is there. Just need corporates now to really start to put this into practice. And both neurodiversity and business and Rangam are here to support them.
Right. And, you made an important point earlier that this is not focused on just the big tech or financial services institutions. NIB has got a broad membership now. And I'm delighted to say that the next podcast that we'll be releasing is with the CEO of McDonald's. And I was so excited about that because as you talked about your son, and I reflect on my son, Joshy, we call him the Joshy man. He's 9 years old. Non-speaking, autistic, and actually I think that we want to change those big financial institutions and the big techs, etc., but also we want to have those retail opportunities and hospitality and leisure, etc. Because the reality is that's where a lot of people start their careers. So I'm just dovetailing that'll be coming quite shortly. Lee, really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for being so generous with your time, and we look forward to welcoming you to a workshop for our membership in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.